Okay, moving on. So those are the three levels of improvements in economics. The first was redistributive taxation. The second was assured work, the sort of giving everybody a ranch. And the third is that realizing that there is upper limit to how much you can reduce work, or if your work falls below a lower limit, you're actually going to be worse off. Okay, then let's just kind of look at like what has been obviously, like some of the stuff I've been talking about is not you won't hear it elsewhere. Now I have actually studied a lot of economics, and I was a grad student at JNU in India, where we had Marxist professors, and then I went to Yale and University of Chicago, which are the heart of capitalist thought. So I've had like quite a wide experience when it comes to economics, and of course these academics don't agree with each other. They just say that the other side is wrong, and then the question is, okay, what is it that you should be watching for? Let me just say, I have a lot of respect for Chicago's stress on empirical validation. So they just don't go around saying things, they try to kind of back it up with data. So that was, I found that very admirable. Okay, so let's move on. So the main promise of the Marxists was greater equality. And the basic error of those who worked for the revolution was not understanding that power comes in two forms, economic and political. And while state ownership of economic assets did result in greater economic quality, it also had a severe loss of incentives and accountability. And there was a huge disparity in political power. Political power was not like thought of as anything wrong, because the political power was with the Communist Party, and of course the Communist Party was noble. That's what they said, and if you said otherwise, you were in trouble. So it's tragic in the sense that a lot of very intelligent, passionate, well-meaning people worked to make this a success, but when it actually happened, what was seen was that because of their lack of complete understanding of human nature, the result was a disaster. And they were very disillusioned. A lot of them were persecuted. Okay. So that's the issue with the left. Now, on the right, of course, there's a lot more freedom, and that's wonderful. And like I said, Chicago stressed empirical validation. That was very admirable. The problem I had with their economics was that they do not have a social utility function for their models. So you have these models, you have your first order conditions, you get to the equilibrium, you prove that there is only the equilibrium is unique by using some fixed point theorems and so on, and then you kind of do like comparative statics. You sort of say that, okay, if I introduce this change, let's say I introduce a policy change, how would that change the variables in the equilibrium? No, that all is fine. That all that's, if you're going on that path, you have that kind of reasoning. If your like underlying assumption is more consumerism is better, that all is fine. But any mathematical model And when you're doing comparative statics, any mathematical model, when you want to have a policy implication from that model, it has to have an objective function which is being maximized. If it doesn't have an objective function, then you just can't play along with a mathematical model. I mean, what is the purpose of it? You don't know, like, which situation is better than another, because you can't compare two different situations. So you have to have an objective function. And the GDP became a stealth objective function in these models. And as long as the policy said that, okay, it's increased the GDP, that was fine. Okay. But the problem with GDP as a function being maximized is that GDP does not care about distribution. And any, like, utility function, if you want to make a case for any utility function, it should take into account distribution. And but, like, if you want to try to take into account distribution, you really get into you get into political issues. So you have to kind of choose a utility function, and then you have to kind of say that, okay, I'm going to put this much negative weight on inequality. So the larger the inequality, the more negative weight will this have. And that is a completely political statement. And, they want to appear to be just scientists, and not like anything which is political. So it's difficult for them to formulate a social utility function. But that obviously is, I mean, what is the use of your model if it doesn't have a proper objective function? But that is a mistake, because if you want a strong community, you want a strong society, you have to have the people, the large majority of people, or everybody, believing that the system is fair to them, so that they are invested in the system, and then only can the society or community achieve its great goals. If there is growing inequality, then people who are losing out will feel more and more alienated. And you tell them, oh, no, it's, Pareto optimal, like whatever we are doing. The winners can compensate the losers, but that doesn't happen. Winners don't compensate the losers. Winners have not compensated the losers from all these free trade agreements, which have increased inequality. So this issue of inequality cannot be ignored for a strong and well-functioning society or community that achieves its great goals. Okay, let's keep moving on. Yeah, the common failing of the left and right is that it's just a very one-dimensional view of human nature, and they both like bought into this consumerism fallacy. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Marx said, like, production or something is very important, and everything is subservient to economic production. Whatever. I mean, that's just a wrong understanding of human nature. And of course, that was on the left, Marx, and then on the right, of course, yeah, they're like, more GDP is great. I mean, as long as you have more GDP, then everything is going well. Okay. So this is the consumerism fallacy. And if you're really going to say that you are going to have solutions for humans, you have to have an understanding of human nature which is not partial. Yes, more consumption may kind of lead to a better life, but then there are so many other things that you have to consider, like whether a person feels like they've done their duty, whether what sort of relationships they have with other people. And ignoring all those and just like sticking with the consumerism fallacy is something which you see both on the left and the right.